On a quiet Sunday, while most Canadians were watching hockey and thinking about groceries, their prime minister was 11,000 kilometers away in the Persian Gulf state of Qatar. 742 Canadian flags lined the streets of Doha to greet him. Defense agreements were signed. AI partnerships were inked. Investment deals were sealed. And almost nobody in Canada's mainstream media asked the question that should have been the first question out of every journalist's mouth. Why Qatar? Why now? And what exactly did Canada just agree to? Because this was not a casual diplomatic visit. This was the second time in 2 months that Mark Carney has traveled to this specific region. And the deals signed behind those closed doors in Doha, defense agreements with a Gulf monarchy, deserve a lot more scrutiny than they got. Let's start with the facts on the ground, because the official version of this story is thin. Suspiciously thin. Canada's Prime Minister flew to Doha, Qatar, met with Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, Qatar's head of state and absolute monarch. The Canadian government called it, quote, a new era for the relationship, moving from close friends to strategic partners. Strategic partners. That phrase does the work of 10 press releases, because strategic partnership with Qatar is not the same as strategic partnership with Norway or Australia or Germany. Qatar is a small Gulf monarchy that has been at the center of some of the most controversial geopolitical arrangements of the last 2 decades. Qatar hosts the largest American military base in the Middle East, Al Udeid Air Base. Qatar has historically maintained relationships with groups that Western governments have designated as terrorist organizations. Qatar funded Al Jazeera. Qatar is currently sitting on one of the largest natural gas reserves on Earth, and Canada just signed defense agreements with them. What kind of defense agreements? The official statement does not say. What technology is being shared? Not specified. What exactly does this AI partnership involve, and who has access? Unanswered. Here is what the mainstream coverage is missing entirely. This is not the first time. This is the second time in 2 months. 2 months ago, Carney was in the United Arab Emirates, another Gulf monarchy, doing the same thing, meeting political and business leaders. Now Qatar, next stop, Davos, the World Economic Forum in the Swiss Alps, where the wealthiest and most powerful people gather, behind closed doors to discuss the direction of the global economy. 3 stops, Gulf monarchies and global elites, back to back to back. Now ask yourself, what is the thread connecting all of these? What is the common denominator between the UAE, Qatar, and Davos? Money. Specifically, sovereign wealth fund money, the kind of money that moves quietly, that comes with no public accountability. Qatar's sovereign wealth fund manages an estimated $500 billion in assets. It owns stakes in companies across Europe, Asia, and North America. It has the kind of capital that can reshape a country's economic architecture in ways that take years to become visible to the public. 2 days before landing in Qatar, Carney announced he had accepted Donald Trump's invitation to join the Board of Peace, the multinational body overseeing Gaza. Think about that sequence. Friday, Carney accepts a seat on Trump's Gaza Reconstruction Board. Sunday, he's in Qatar signing defense agreements. Is Carney positioning Canada as the diplomatic bridge between Washington's reconstruction agenda and Qatar's ground-level access to Gaza? The official statements are silent on this. Not a single journalist in that press room in Doha asked the direct question. Then there is the Greenland question. And this is where the press conference got genuinely revealing. A reporter asked Carney directly. His answer was 4 seconds long. There's a full commitment of NATO partners to the security of Greenland. That's it. This from a man who committed $40 billion to Arctic defense, who announced 365-day military presence across Canada's north. That man, when asked about Greenland in Qatar, gave a 4-second non-answer. Why? What changed between Norway and Doha? In Qatar, where the Americans have their largest Middle East military base, you do not pick fights with Washington over Greenland. You smile and sign deals. The defense agreements signed in Doha have not been published. Canadians do not know what military technology or information is now being shared. In an era where artificial intelligence is a question of strategic sovereignty, Canada signed an AI agreement with a Gulf monarchy and released no details. And the media coverage, what little there was, ran the government's press release almost verbatim. 742 flags, new era, strategic partners. Nobody asked how this squares with Canada's stated commitment to values-based foreign policy, because Qatar is not a democracy. Qatar has a record of migrant worker exploitation so severe it made international headlines. It has no resemblance to Canada's claimed democratic values. 742 flags, defense agreements with undisclosed contents, AI partnerships with no detail, a 4-second non-answer on Greenland. This is Carney's foreign policy. And a prime minister boarding a plane from Doha to Davos to meet with the global elite. Canadians deserve answers. What exactly did Canada agree to? Who benefits? What oversight exists? What did Canada give up? And why are the details not available to the public? 742 flags. Not a single straight answer. Carney is heading to Davos, and Canadians are left with a 4-paragraph press release. Someone should be asking. Subscribe for the analysis that goes beyond the press release. Tell us in the comments, do you think Canadians deserve more transparency?